Okay, let's talk about one simple, powerful hack that can literally change how you deal with any problem that comes your way. And I'm not talking about some generic self-help advice. This is straight up brain science.
Have you ever had that feeling? The pressure's on, you're faced with a problem, and your brain just freezes? Or maybe you do the opposite. You make a snap decision that you immediately wish you could take back. We've all been there. But what if I told you that whole experience is completely predictable and totally preventable?
Right, so that moment of panic, that feeling like your brain just checked out, that's not you feeling, it's not a character flaw, it's a biological reaction. Your brain is literally being hijacked.
So here's the crazy part. Your brain doesn't really know the difference between a big problem and a small one. Spilling coffee on your keyboard, facing a huge crisis at work. To your brain's first response system, it's all the same. It's a threat, and it immediately sounds the alarm. And this creates this internal tug of war. See, you've got two modes. First, there's your reacting brain, your emotional brain, run by a little thing called the amygdala. It's all about instinct and speed. Then you have your responding brain, your thinking brain, the prefrontal cortex. That's your logic center. When a problem hits, these two basically go to war for control.
Okay, so let's get into what's actually going on inside your body and your mind when that threat alarm gets pulled. This is where it gets really interesting. All right, picture your amygdala like this super sensitive fire alarm in your brain. The second it even thinks it smells smoke, a threat, it yanks that lever, and that instantly kicks your sympathetic nervous system into high gear. We're talking full-on red alert. And you know what this feels like, right? Your body gets flooded with stress hormones. Your heart starts racing, your muscles get all tense, and your mind, it starts playing a movie of every single worst-case scenario it can dream up. If that sounds familiar, you are officially in hijack mode.
But here's the real kicker. While all that emotional chaos is happening, the CEO of your brain, your prefrontal cortex, the part that does all the rational thinking, it starts to shut down. It's like it can't get a word in edgewise over all the screaming from the fire alarm. That is why you can't think straight in the middle of a crisis.
So the big question is, how do you stop this hijack? How do you get the CEO back in charge? Well, the solution is almost ridiculously simple, but it is incredibly powerful. You just take a pause. Okay, here it is, the 3-step brain hack to get back in the driver's seat. It's simple. Pause, breathe, think. First, you just stop. Don't do anything, just for a second. Second, you take a few slow, deep belly breaths, and that is the magic key that lets you do step 3. Think. You've just created a tiny bit of space for your thinking brain to power back on. I know what you're thinking. That's it? Just breathing? It sounds way too simple to actually work. But there is some serious science behind why this tiny action creates such a huge change in your brain. Okay, so here's how it works. When you take those deep breaths, you activate what's called your parasympathetic nervous system. Now, if the stress response is like slamming on the gas pedal, this is like hitting the brakes, hard. It tells your whole body to calm down, it slows your heart rate, relaxes your muscles, and basically sends a message to your brain saying, hey, false alarm, we're safe. And by hitting that brake, you give your thinking brain the quiet moment it needs to come back online. All of a sudden, you're not trapped in that panic loop anymore. You can actually see the problem for what it is, look at it from different angles, and start to see solutions where just a second ago, there was only a big, scary threat. Now, here's where it gets really exciting. This isn't just a trick you pull out in an emergency. This is a practice. And if you do it consistently, you can actually rewire your brain for the long haul. You've probably heard of neuroplasticity, right? It just means your brain can change. It's trainable. So every single time you choose to pause instead of react, you're literally building and strengthening a new neural pathway. And if you use that pathway enough, it becomes your brain's new default superhighway. So how do you train? You start small. You don't wait for a 5-alarm fire. You use the little everyday annoyances as your personal gym. Stuck in traffic? That's a rep. Last-minute schedule change? Another rep. You spill your coffee? Perfect. See every one of these moments as a chance to practice the pause. And when you practice like this, something really profound starts to happen. This little technique stops being something you do, and it starts becoming part of who you are. It just becomes your natural, automatic response. So what's the end game here? Your brain stops freezing, it stops panicking, and instead it starts looking for solutions. You become the kind of person who is calm, who is centered, who is solution-oriented by default. You basically become, well, problem-proof. So there's really only one thing left to do, right? You have to actually try it. Don't just let this be interesting information you heard. Think about your day to day. What's one small, annoying thing that's bound to happen? Decide right now that that's going to be your first training session. Because that tiny moment, that's where the whole transformation begins.